pilot episode of Daredevil introduces us to Matt Murdock, a blind lawyer who secretly fights crime as a vigilante in Hell's Kitchen. The episode opens up with a flashback to Matt's childhood accident where he's blinded by a chemical spill as his father, Jack Murdock, rushes to his side, who we already know is kinda off because look how corny he looks with that neutral green sweater. Come on. Young Matt panics, saying he can't see, setting up the origin of his condition. The scene transitions to the present day where Matt prays in a church confessional, admitting his struggles with his violent tendencies. Homie must have a vicious backhand smack. That night, Matt suits up in a simple black mask and tracks down a group of human traffickers who are abducting young women. To be honest, I have no idea how he sees through that mask. Oh, that's right. In a brutal, well-choreographed fight, Matt takes out the criminals with his heightened senses. I told you he has a vicious backhand. The women are freed, and Matt disappears into the night. Because, heroes never do that. The next day, he and his best friend, Foggy Nelson, search for office space to establish their law firm. You remember this guy, right? From Idle Hands? Meanwhile, we are introduced to Karen Page, a secretary at Union Allied Construction, who wakes up in her apartment next to a dead co-worker. The police arrive and arrest her for murder, but something doesn't add up. Because just look at her. She's a white, blonde-haired woman. Karen swears she has no memory of what happened. Matt and Foggy take on her case after Foggy bribes a police officer for early access to her file. When they visit Karen in jail, Matt quickly realizes she is hiding something due to his enhanced ability to detect heartbeats and sense deception. Despite this, he believes she is innocent and insists on defending her. Later that night, while being held at the precinct, Karen is attacked by an assassin sent to silence her. That's right, apparently everyone wants a piece of Miss Thang. She barely survives and is placed under Nelson and Murdock's protection. Karen sneaks back into the murder apartment. She retrieves a mysterious USB drive, proving that the company is involved in massive financial fraud. She's attacked and about to be slapped silly until Matt rolls up with that backhand of his, and his ability to fight wife beaters in close quarters is showcased gloriously. Once Matt and Foggy receive the G14 classified USB, they decide to release it to the journalist, Ben Urich. Alright, so we kick things off with Matt Murdock face planting into a dumpster, all thanks to a beatdown from some very angry Russian dudes. Lucky for him, Claire Temple finds him and decides, sure, I'll take this half-dead ninja home. As she patches him up, he mumbles about saving some kidnapped kid. Claire is like, dude, you need a hospital. But Matt insists he's fine. Meanwhile, the Russian mob brothers, Anatoly and Vladimir, are flipping out because their underground crime empire is getting dunked on by some dude in a pajama mask. While all this is going down, we get some sad boy flashbacks to baby Matt and his dad, Jack Murdock. Jack's been playing punching bag for mobsters who pay him to lose fights, but when he gets a shot at winning one for real, he takes it, knowing full well it's going to get him whacked faster than a guy in a mob movie who says, one last job. He also allows baby Matt to get pissed drunk, but we'll ignore that character flaw. He wins the fight, pockets some cash from Maddie, and then immediately walks into an alley like he's never seen a crime movie before. Baby Matt finds out, cries, and boom, origin story trauma unlocked. Back in the present, Matt decides he's recovered just enough to go John Wick on a bunch of Russians. With Claire as his unwilling sidekick, he tracks down a goon, dangles him on a roof, and gets the kid's location. Then we get the most legendary hallway fight ever, where Matt punches, flips, and body slams his way through an apartment full of bad guys like he's late for rent. By the time he reaches the kid, Matt looks like he crawled out of a blender. Oh yeah, by the way, the other half of this episode, Foggy is doing whatever he can to escape the forbidden friend zone. The episode opens with a tense scene in a bowling alley where a man named Healy confronts another patron and after a brief altercation, brutally kills him using a bowling ball. Because, why not? Healy is arrested but is quickly provided legal representation through an unknown benefactor. Meanwhile, Matt and Foggy receive an unexpected job offer from a high-profile firm, suggesting they take on Healy's defense. Matt agrees, sensing that this case is connected to the larger criminal operations in Hell's Kitchen. Using his heightened senses, Matt quickly realizes Healy is more than just a hired thug, he's a killer. Elsewhere, Karen Page continues to investigate the suspicious circumstances surrounding the Union Allied Construction, despite receiving a financial settlement meant to silence her. Like, why not risk a large lump sum settlement to play detective? Makes sense. She meets Ben Urich, a veteran journalist, hoping he will help her expose the corruption she's covering. Urich warns her that powerful people are involved and advises her to tread carefully. Karen, however, refuses to back down. Otherwise, her character would be written off the show. As the trial unfolds, Matt successfully defends Healy, leading to his acquittal. However, Matt later confronts him as Daredevil, demanding answers about who hired him. After a brutal interrogation, Healy finally reveals the name Wilson Fisk, before shockingly taking his own life rather than risk what Fisk might do to him. Certified lover boy? Nah, certified G. This dude was about that life. The episode ends with Fisk himself making his first true appearance as he visits Vanessa Mariana, an art dealer, showing an unexpected side of him. The episode opens with a flashback to Anatoly and Vladimir, the Russian mobsters who have been causing trouble in Hell's Kitchen. So yeah, if you wanted character development, you've come to the right place. We see how they clawed their way up from a brutal Russian prison. In the present, the brothers are growing increasingly frustrated with Daredevil's interference in their operations. They learn that a nurse named Claire Temple has treated the vigilante and decide to track her down in an effort to lure him out. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk finally steps out of the shadows as he meets again with Vanessa Mariana, the art dealer. Because let's be real, when you look like this dude and only have one suit, you gotta cherish what you can get. However, as the episode progresses, we get a chilling reminder of how dangerous he truly is. When Anatoly interrupts his dinner date to demand assistance against Daredevil, Fisk smashes Anatoly's head repeatedly in the corridor, which really isn't saying too much, because if I got interrupted on a dinner that I just dropped a bag on with my girl, you catching hands too. On Matt's side of things, he begins working to dismantle the Russians' operations further. Karen continues her investigation into Union Allied with Ben Urich once again. I already feel sorry for this dude. You can see it on his face. He's like, white woman, don't you understand that the same rules for you don't apply for me? You about to get me murked. Meanwhile, Daredevil learns that Claire has been kidnapped by the Russians. In a brutal fight sequence, he takes out the gang members holding her captive. As savage as that was, you know he loved seeing that out of her. He's definitely gonna try and hit tonight. The episode picks up right where the last one left off. Vladimir discovers his brother Anatoly's body. However, Fisk manipulates the situation, making it seem as though Daredevil was responsible for the killing. Ah, that dude Fisk think he's slick. Meanwhile, Matt and Claire's relationship deepens. See, I told you homie was about to hit. Though she warns him that his vigilante lifestyle will only get more dangerous. In a tense dinner scene, Fisk continues his courtship of Vanessa Mariana, who is both intrigued and cautious of his mysterious nature. And who wouldn't be? Whenever dudes have a cue ball baldy and it fits them, look out. As their conversation unfolds, Fisk explains his vision for Hell's Kitchen, though he conveniently leaves out all the murder and corruption involved. But come on, who really sweats all those details like that? Meanwhile, Karen visits the widow of a murdered whistleblower, uncovering more evidence that points to a massive conspiracy. The climax of the episode is an all-out war in Hell's Kitchen, Fisk orchestrating a citywide attack against the Russians. In the chaos, Daredevil finds Vladimir, but instead of killing him, Matt tries to extract information about Fisk. The episode ends with the police arriving and forcing Daredevil into a desperate fight for survival. The episode picks up in the immediate aftermath of Wilson Fisk's brutal attack on the Russians, leaving Hell's Kitchen in flames. As you can see, shit's popping off, son. Daredevil, still reeling from the destruction, finds himself trapped with Vladimir, but Matt quickly realizes that many of the responding officers are actually on Fisk's payroll. God damn, this dude is diabolical. With no way out, he is forced to take Vladimir as a hostage, hoping to extract information about Fisk's criminal operations. And when I say by any means necessary, I mean by any means necessary. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk speaks to Matt directly over a police radio, taunting him and making it clear that he sees Daredevil as nothing more than a thug disrupting his greater purpose. In other words, homie is a hater. Fisk orders his men to kill Vladimir and pin the entire attack on Daredevil, ensuring that the vigilante becomes a wanted criminal. Elsewhere, Foggy and Karen rush to the hospital where many victims of the bombings have been taken. And that's right, homie got cooked. In front of his shorty too. Meanwhile, Ben Urich starts piecing together the connections between Union Allied, the bombings, and Fisk. Back at the warehouse, Matt fights off corrupt cops and assassins sent by Fisk, just as Vladimir, now mortally wounded, gives him one last piece of information, a clue about Fisk's money laundering network. And he does that zesty kick. Daredevil is left fighting from the shadows. As he should. Homie is blind, for Christ's sake. This episode introduced Stick, the blind, no-nonsense mentor who trained Matt Murdock in combat and survival as a child. I knew there was a Mr. Miyagi type character in this story somewhere. He suddenly returns to Hell's Kitchen seeking Matt's help to take down Black Sky, a mysterious weapon being smuggled into the city by the Japanese Yakuza. Talk about the blind leading the blind. Through flashbacks, we see how Stick took Matt in as a boy, teaching him to hone his heightened senses into a weapon. However, their relationship is anything but warm. Stick's brutal training methods pushed Matt to his limits. When Matt grew too attached, Stick abandoned him, believing emotional ties made him weak. Which is cold as hell because it doesn't really take much to abandon someone who's blind. In the present, Matt reluctantly teams up with Stick to stop the shipment, only to find that Black Sky is not a weapon, but a child with unknown supernatural significance. Despite Matt's protests, Stick kills the child, reinforcing their differing philosophies. After a brutal confrontation between the two, Stick leaves again, disappointed in Matt for clinging to his morality. However, in the final scene, we see Stick reporting to an unseen figure, hinting that there is a larger war brewing in the shadows of Hell's Kitchen. This episode dives deep into Wilson Fisk's backstory, giving us a chilling look at what shaped the man who would become Kingpin. Through flashbacks, we learn that Fisk was raised by an abusive father, Bill Fisk, who constantly berated both him and his mother. One day, when his father was brutally beating his mom, young Wilson snapped and murdered him with a hammer. His mother then helped him cover it up, having him chop the body into pieces and dispose of them. This traumatic event set Fisk on the path to becoming the ruthless man he is today, and also certified his mom as a true ride or die. In the present, Fisk, now fully embracing his role as Hell's Kitchen's ruler, publicly reveals himself for the first time, presenting himself as a philanthropist working to rebuild the city. Meanwhile, Matt, Foggy, and Karen scramble to find evidence that could turn the tide against him. At the same time, Ben Urich continues his investigation, getting closer to the truth, while Karen refuses to give up, even as she starts receiving threats. The episode ends with Fisk officially stepping into the light, positioning himself as Hell's Kitchen savior. Matt begins to seriously question whether he needs to kill Fisk to stop him, leading to a heavy conversation with his priest about the nature of the devil. As he wrestles with his morality, he goes head-to-head with Nobu, a deadly warrior connected to the Hand, who Fisk sends to kill him. Despite his injuries, Matt manages to kill Nobu, marking one of his darkest moments. But in all honesty, how is he expecting to become an elite superhero? With balloons and a lollipop? However, he barely has time to recover before Fisk himself enters the fight, revealing that everything was part of his plan to wear him down. In an absolutely one-sided beatdown, Fisk brutally pummels Daredevil, nearly killing him. Matt barely escapes with his life, physically and mentally broken. Meanwhile, Foggy, growing suspicious of Matt's erratic behavior, follows him home. Low-key, this is kinda sus. Like, is you the homie or not? You can't let me just wild out in peace, bro? And discovers his secret. Matt Murdock is Daredevil. This revelation shatters their friendship, leaving Matt more alone than ever as the episode ends. This episode focuses heavily on Foggy and Matt's friendship as Foggy confronts Matt over his double life. Through flashbacks, we see how they met in college, how they dreamed of fighting for justice together, and how Foggy always saw Matt as a brother. Having a blind roommate actually sounds like a plus in my book. However, now feeling betrayed, Foggy walks away from their friendship and their law firm, leaving Matt completely isolated. A total overreaction in my opinion. Your homie can casually whoop anyone's ass while being blind? Good luck finding a better partner. Meanwhile, Fisk's hold on Hell's Kitchen grows stronger, with his influence in law enforcement and the media making him untouchable. Karen and Ben Urich continue digging into Fisk's past. Low-key, I don't care how close of friends we are. There's no way you're popping up on me, out of my closet, while sipping on some tea? Slow your roll, fam. And finally find his mother in a nursing home, where she reveals that Fisk killed his father as a child. This information could be the key to bringing him down. As the episode ends, Matt is completely alone, but with Karen and Ben's new lead, there may be still hope. This episode opens with the grim reality of the poisoning of Fisk's benefit. Vanessa lies unconscious, her life hanging in the balance, while others have perished. Low-key, I kinda think Fisk put something in Shorty's drink because he was trying to hit, and things just got out of hand. That's just my opinion. He orders Wesley to prepare for Vanessa's potential recovery, outlining plans for her safety. Karen, undeterred by warnings, continues her relentless investigation into Fisk's background, sharing her findings with Matt, Foggy, and Ben Urich. While they acknowledge the information, they emphasize its insufficiency to bring down Fisk, highlighting the need for concrete evidence. Adding to Matt's personal turmoil, Claire, recognizing the inherent dangers of his vigilante lifestyle, decides to leave Hell's Kitchen. Fisk's focus remains solely on Vanessa's well-being, his fury directed at those he deems responsible for the poisoning. Matt, through keen observation, deduces that Fisk's suit during their previous confrontation was custom-made. This leads him to Melvin Potter, the tailor, where a tense confrontation ensues. Meanwhile, Wesley, acting on his own initiative to protect Fisk and neutralize perceived threats, kidnaps Karen. Karen manages to subdue and fatally shoot Wesley, revealing a hidden capacity for violence and raising troubling questions about her past and motivations. That being said, this has got to be the most epic fail imaginable. Think about it. You kidnap a woman, and you're the one that ends up getting murked? With your own weapon? Karen's trauma from killing Wesley is immediate and overwhelming. She disposes of the gun and seeks solace in alcohol, which I totally agree with. Because if I bang someone out, I'm hitting the hen dog too. At the office, she encounters Foggy, who, despite their strained relationship, expresses concern and hints at his ongoing investigation into Fisk. As Matt arrives, the tension between him and Foggy palpable. Karen confides in Matt, expressing her fear that working with them was a mistake and that they are the only good thing in her life. Meanwhile, Fisk, relieved by Vanessa's recovery, makes plans for her safety. However, the discovery of Wesley's body shatters his belief. Fisk's grief and rage lead him to lash out, but it's Owlsley who calms him, and Fisk becomes obsessed with finding Wesley's killer. Matt, seeking information on Fisk's operations, meets with Ben Urich. Not gonna lie, kinda liked how he got a taste of his own medicine from how he popped out an old girl a few episodes ago. You best believe Daredevil caught wind of that. Learning about the Steel Serpent heroine and the mysterious woman leading the Chinese operation. Foggy, meanwhile, enlists Marcy's help, sharing his suspicions about Fisk's connection to Elena's murder. Karen, driven by her own agenda, pressures Ben to publish his story on Fisk. You can tell that after popping homie, she ain't got no fear whatsoever, popping out in a black dude like that. Matt's investigation leads him to a warehouse, where he confronts Madame Gao and her blind workers. Their confrontation ends with Gao escaping and the warehouse in flames. Real talk, Daredevil's kind of a hater. This operation was getting a bunch of his blind homies some work. Fisk, driven by grief and suspicion, learns about Wesley's call to his mother. He arranges for her relocation, but her memory of the conversation with Wesley is unclear, leaving Karen's secret safe for now. Ben, having been fired for his pursuit of the Fisk story, decides to publish online. However, his investigation has made him a target. Fisk confronts Ben, confirming his suspicions about a mole at the paper and revealing his involvement in past events. Ultimately, Fisk's rage lead him to strangle Ben, silencing the reporter and eliminating a threat. Murked. Ben Urich's funeral brings together Matt, Karen, and Father Lantom, and Ben's widow, Doris. Karen grapples with guilt, but Doris assures her of Ben's respect for her and his independent spirit. Matt, blaming himself for Ben's death, speaks with Father Lantom. Karen, worried about Fisk's potential knowledge of her visit to his mother, expresses her suspicions about Ellison's possible corruption. Matt vows to protect her and bring Fisk's collaborators to justice. Speaking of this office, when was the last time these dudes had a court case? Or paid a bill? Leland reports on the loss of Gao's heroin revenue and informs Fisk of her departure. Noticing Leland's nervousness, confronts him about Wesley's death and the attempt on Vanessa's life. In a fit of rage, kills Leland. He then orders the execution of Hoffman, whom Leland had been holding captive. Matt, working out at Fogwell's gym, is joined by Foggy. They reconcile and seek out Brett Mahoney, sharing information about Fisk and learning about Hoffman's location. They realize that getting to Hoffman before Fisk's men is crucial. Karen, Foggy, and Matt, reunited, analyze the documents from Landman and Zack, searching for Hoffman's whereabouts. And you really gotta love this, because it's not like their friend was just recently brutally murdered. Karen discovers a hidden property transaction, providing the address. Matt, as Daredevil, infiltrates the location and rescues Hoffman. Not even Homie thought that backflip kick was necessary. Hoffman's testimony leads to the arrest of several Fisk's associates. Fisk, realizing his impending arrest, proposes to Vanessa. He is arrested but orchestrates a plan for escape. Daredevil, now in his new suit, intercepts Fisk's transport, leading to a final confrontation. Daredevil defeats Fisk and hands him over to the police. The episode concludes with the team celebrating at the office, toasting to Ben and Elena. Daredevil, listening for cries for help, leaps into action, ready to continue his fight for Hell's Kitchen. Well, that wraps up Season 1. For a no-cap recap on Daredevil Season 2, click right here.